Hey, what's up? Like, totally time for 90210.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 90210 show. My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my wife, Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a good week here. It is May 13th, 1999.
It is that.
We are almost halfway through 1999. Can you believe it? It's going to be the year 2000.
It was literally just Christmas, I swear. I don't know what happened.
I know. It was.
Like, we weren't married, and now we are married, and it's all weird.
It's all weird? What's weird about being married?
I don't know. Just,
You can't have sex with other guys
different.
anymore?
I didn't have sex with other guys anyway. What the hell? What a thing to say.
Okay, yeah. You've only been with me. So, speaking of sex with other guys, we watched 90210 this week.
That's an interesting segue there.
Well, because Kelly is acting like she wants to have sex with other guys.
I guess.
Other than Matt.
Yeah, I don't know what
Daniel
the fuck
Cosgrove
is going on with Kelly. I mean, I do, but it pisses me off.
This entire episode was
annoying.
It was something else.
It was kind of a roller coaster.
Withdrawal, it's called.
Yeah. So Dylan shows up. What?
No,
go ahead. I started talking, and then you made this sound like you were going to be like, "Wait, no, fuck, no, we need to start with something else."
It was me breathing in.
That was it. You didn't want to interrupt me.
I was going to say something.
So what?
I was just going to say, last episode, if you'll recall, Donna hits her head on the pool, and they have to resuscitate her. They call the ambulance. And guess what? Do we get to see any of the exciting conclusion of that?
Nope.
We get Kelly and Matt in her kitchen, and him saying, she's going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And Kelly going, for a second, I was like, are we in the middle of an episode? What happened? What's going on? We come in media res or whatever.
It is. It's like they're getting lazier and lazier.
Yeah.
Because, did they just feel like it was too much work to do a hospital scene?
Seriously.
They literally use a hospital set later in the episode. I
know.
So what the fuck, people?
I don't understand. But Kelly's like, he goes, did you hear what I said? Donna's going to be okay. And it's like, oh, thanks. You're telling us, the audience. And apparently it's that night.
Right. Yeah.
Which makes what happens next even more ridiculous.
The whole thing is stupid. Dylan shows up and everybody's all worried about him and nice to him and oh, can't we help you?
We want to help you, Dylan. We were so excited when you showed up. Feelings mutual, man. And then I expected the film to just burn and part or whatever as Dylan and Noah, the mirror universe. It's Noah's the bizarro world. Dylan
right.
Talk to each other, and Dylan's Noah goes, I dealt with my stuff straight up and got through it, And Dylan's about to leave. He's walking out because he doesn't want to detox in front of them or whatever. And they're like, where are you going, Dylan? He's like, I'm going to deal with my stuff straight up or whatever. Mm-hmm. I get it's the character making fun of the other character, but I think in some ways it's also Luke Perry making fun of, I don't know his name, but the actor that plays Noah.
I don't know. But the whole thing's weird. This whole episode's weird. I don't like anything about this episode. So he opens the door and almost walks into Donna, who looks perfect.
Yeah.
Her hair is not wet or mussed. She has makeup on. Yep. She's dressed nicely. There's no bandage on her head.
Yeah, what the fuck? That was the most violent head hit I've ever seen on film. And she's just fine. I mean,
they did such a good job filming it. Why drop it like that?
It's so dumb. They had such opportunities to do stuff in the hospital setting.
Yeah, they could have done some really great storytelling, but no.
But yeah, Donna's just I forgive you, and you're in pain, and you need help. Will you let us help you? And he's he does Luke Perry does some decent acting here.
Yeah.
Where he's holding back tears and everything, and he's like, yeah, I'll try or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'll try. And then he goes off to do whatever the fuck he does.
Yeah. Well, at first he tries. He's there in the house. Gina's with him, and he tries to detox with them. But instead, he sneaks out the window.
I felt like there was something before that, but I could have been wrong. Like, at one point, I know all the girls are, like, arguing about who's going to go be with him, and I think that happens before he sneaks out the window.
That does happen before he sneaks out the window, yeah. There's an undercurrent, so it's hard to... We usually, as you guys know, we usually go storyline by storyline, but besides the Withdrawal storyline, there's only one stupid storyline with Steve that I guess we'll get to later. There's the small little, like...
So
I guess
stupid.
It's the comic relief of the episode or whatever, but it's dumb. But every other story is kind of intertwined with Dylan and his withdrawal, because there is tension between Matt and Kelly, and that has to do with Dylan.
Right.
There's Matt trying to get a deal for Dylan about the breaking into the Marchette's old house.
Threatening them with a gun.
Right, last episode, but that has to do with Dylan. There's tension between Gina and Kelly, but that has to do with Dylan. There's...
Everything has to do with Dylan.
So, yeah, it's a very Dylan-centric episode, even though he's not in all the scenes, but all the storylines about everyone else pertain to Dylan, except for the small, stupid, little Steve subplot.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kelly and...
Matt.
No.
Donna? Gina?
Gina. Kelly and Gina are in a constant pissing contest.
Kelly
the entire episode.
Kelly is a bitch.
She is.
Like, to Matt and to Gina, like, it's... Yeah. I know I've asked this question before, but I have to ask. Mm-hmm. If any one of you writes for 90210, or if you are Kelly, Jeannie, what's her name? Jeannie Garth?
Uh-huh.
Late fee 1994 at AOL.com. Let us know. Is she supposed to be a sympathetic character? Are we supposed to be on Kelly's side at all? Is she the villain of the show? Like,
yeah.
What perspective do you want us to have? Because I'll tell you the perspective I have.
Right.
She's a bitch.
Right. But yeah, I do. I feel like we're supposed to feel for her.
She's the star of the show. She's first billed now. Now that everyone else is gone, she's first billed, and this is how you want us to see the first billed actress? It can't be.
She's awful.
You can't be wanting us to be actively rooting against her. But if that's not your goal, you've done a bad job.
Right.
If that is your goal, bravo.
Gina, I think, really, really does care about Dylan.
Yeah.
I thought she was kind of a shitty person at first because of her issues with Donna, but she's not. She just has issues with Donna.
They wanted to make her another
Valerie.
I think that initially was what they were going for, but very, very quickly, as they often do, they've completely reversed course on it. And like you said, they gave her a storyline of like, well, you know, she has this petty jealousy and whatever of Donna, and she's kind of a jerk to Donna. Although that seems to be clearing up too now that Donna almost died.
Yeah. And
she feels guilty about it because she is the one that brought the heroin to the party to give to him that he got high on and then almost killed her. But yeah, other than that, like, I'm on her side in every interaction with Kelly. I'm on her side.
Yeah, because Kelly's a bitch. Mm-hmm. Kelly is a bitch to Matt. She takes him with her to go look for Dylan when he's missing because he climbed out the window.
Yep.
She takes him to the beach where Dylan used to surf and talks about how they would always end up here when they were having a rough time. They'd find each other.
Yeah, this was the place.
No one wants to hear that from the person they're dating.
Right. This is the place we decided to come to if it ever got rough. And like, you know, this is where we would fuck a lot.
She did not say that. But I'm
sure that's true.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that where they decided they were going to date when he was still with Brenda?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Awful. And he's like, well... it wouldn't have occurred to me that, everyone has these places in their hometowns and how it might make you feel. But now that you've brought me to yours, I promise I'll never take you to mine.
Yeah.
Like, listen to him. But she doesn't care about him.
She really doesn't. And, like, at the beginning of the episode, she's all angry at him because he didn't tell her about the heroin. And it's like, he finally says what you and I have been saying, screaming at the TV. I couldn't tell you, it's privilege. And she's like, oh, it's privilege, huh? And it's like, yeah, he could get disbarred. Like, you don't understand how this works? Like, he has professional, ethical responsibilities.
Yeah, she's so mad at him for nothing. It's ridiculous.
He kept saying, like, to Dylan, you should tell them. And, like, I think even one time he said to, I think, Kelly, ask Dylan.
Right.
Like, yeah, if Dylan wants to tell you, that's fine. But he can't.
Yeah.
It was in the course of defending his clients. That's very clearly privileged information.
So they're arguing about Dylan and, the fact that she's rubbing his face in their past relationship.
And she wants to rub something else in Dylan's face. Sure
as hell does. And we see that Dylan's actually huddled in the rocks at the bottom of this, like
a fucking, I don't know, like an elf or an imp or something like that.
Interesting.
No, doesn't he look like a tiny creature? Like, just like, I must keep myself from the light.
Wow.
Well, that's how he's playing it too, because he's all writhing around in the sand.
Yeah, I mean, he's in heroin withdrawal. And then at one point he pulls the packet of heroin that he has in his pocket out. And like,
just the way you said that made me think of like going to the gas station to buy a packet of heroin or something like that. I'll just take the tiny packet today.
Like when he crawled out the window, I assumed he was going to go use. But then it's like, okay, so he's actually withdrawing on the beach. So maybe he didn't use. And then it's like, okay, well, he has heroin. It's like this up and down and up and down. But he dumps it out in the sand.
Yeah, that's true. He does. I thought about something I said last week.
What?
It just occurred to me, something I said last week. Remember when they were talking about how he had some stored in a balloon or whatever? And I was like, oh, for smuggling or whatever. But no, it just occurred to me. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not. This is a little peek under the hood. I'm not a heroin addict. I forgot that most of the time, because they can look similar, at least like China White and certain variations of heroin can look similar to cocaine. Cocaine is typically kept in baggies, like the baggie that he had, right? Heroin is typically stored in balloons, whether being smuggled or not. It's usually just packaged in balloons. That's kind of how it just is on the street.
Interesting.
So that makes a lot of sense, actually, that it would be in a balloon.
But it wasn't this time.
No, it wasn't a baggie this time. I think, honestly, just for visual purposes, so because it's see-through and everything. And we know he's on heroin, so there's no risk. But like in Pulp Fiction, right?
Yeah.
In Pulp Fiction, the guy says, Eric Stoltz says to John Travolta's character, Vincent Vega, he's like, hey, is a baggie okay? I ran out of balloons.
That's why there's the confusion. I never got that.
And that's why Mia, when she sees the baggie and it's white because it's China White or whatever, she's like, oh, this is cocaine because it's not in a balloon. That's why she thinks it's cocaine. And that's why all that shit happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But can't you also snort heroin? He snorts heroin, so why was it such a big deal that she snorted the heroin?
Because it was, first of all, it was insanely potent. Because this guy's a big-time functioning heroin addict, Vincent Vega. And he's been in Amsterdam for a while. But second of all, she's never done heroin. That's why. Like, if you do heroin for the first time, you're not doing the primo barely cut stuff.
So it was just too much for her.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It wasn't that she did it wrong.
No, she did it. Yeah, she did it fine.
He just gave me thumbs up.
It was aces the way she did it. Okay. She did it so good her heart stopped. That's like the ultimate for
right. Okay, so then when Kelly and Matt, who for some reason are still walking along together, end up back at the beach house.
Yeah.
Dylan's now on the porch.
Yeah. Apparently they just walked along around the beach or whatever.
And he raced over there somehow and beat them.
I'd love to see the behind the scenes thing. It's like like when I think of like slasher movies too. It's like they always show like a picture of like Michael Myers or whatever, like lurking by a bush or whatever. The camera moves and then it comes back and he's gone, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like if the camera stayed on him, it's like as the person like gaze leaves, he's like, oh, and he starts like running fists again. That's what Dylan did.
Right. But yeah, he's like again huddled up, just like he's dying, and she goes over to Dylan, and he's like, "Help me!"
Seriously, it was like that fucking that movie that Won by Metallica's based on. No. Now the world is gone, I'm just one. Oh, please, God, help. You know that song?
Yes, thank you.
It's it's based on that. I can't remember what it's called, but the dude that's like fucking paralyzed, the soldier that's paralyzed, and I think he can just move his toe or whatever, but he's like fucking trapped in his body and he just wants to die.
Wow, yeah, that's awful.
That's what Dylan's like.
Yeah. So they take him to the hospital, and Gina and Kelly start arguing because Gina's like, okay, I'm here, I'll let you guys know. And Kelly's like, I'm not going anywhere. And she's like, and Kelly's like, he was on my doorstep. Mm-hmm. I brought him here. I saved him. She said so many things to her. She's like, you helped him through his addiction. We'll help him through his recovery.
Right.
Like all kinds of bullshit. And like Gina pointed out, like that's also on my doorstep because they live together.
Well, she asked for me. He asked for me.
Which he didn't. He just said, help me.
Right.
He didn't say, Kelly, oh, I've been waiting for you.
This scene opens with a really good shot, too. I'm loath to give praise to the show ever, but whoever did the direction on this episode, at least this one shot is very nice because Kelly is sitting in the waiting room. We move to a view of her sitting there, right? Mm-hmm. And then the camera like pushes in rapidly, like pushes in on her, and then we switch perspectives and it's Gina like storming up the fucking aisle, and she's like, hey, thanks for calling me.
Oh, yeah.
If Donna didn't come home, I wouldn't have even known you found him and he was here. I've been fucking going out of my mind or whatever. And she's like, oh, I was busy.
Yeah, that was awful. Mm-hmm. She's an awful person.
But yeah, she's like, you do a really good job taking care of other people's boyfriends. And yeah, it's a whole big thing. And then at one point, Matt comes to the hospital and Gina's sitting there and they talk. And they actually have some chemistry together, the two of them.
Yeah.
They have a pleasant conversation. And he's like, where's Kelly? And she's like, guess. And she's sitting in the room because I guess we should mention, Dylan's in a chemically induced coma.
He is?
Well, I guess.
They said he was sedated. They didn't say he was in a coma.
Yeah, sedated. I mean, not in a coma or whatever, but like they've prescribed a withdrawal method for him, mm-hmm. which is basically using opiate antagonist medications.
Yeah, naltrexone, I think.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with all of them, but yeah, I think that's like the leading one or whatever.
So it keeps the opiates from like doing what they're supposed to do.
It keeps them from attaching to the neurons in your brain, essentially. Yeah, it's an antagonist kind of thing. There are downsides to this sort of withdrawal. So heroin addiction comes, obviously there's a mental addiction to it. Mm-hmm. The physical addiction happens in the brain and in the base of the spine. It causes an unnatural thickening in the nerve endings at the base of the spine, and it causes changes to the neurons in your brain. So an opioid antagonist medication basically blocks the body's ability to metabolize opiates, essentially. So it can really help a lot with heroin withdrawal and stuff like that. It can minimize a lot of the symptoms of withdrawal, and it can help keep people clean by sort of like severing a lot of the physical, at least the physical addiction of heroin. One of the downsides they don't mention, though, is that if a person then relapses and goes back on heroin, it's much more likely they'll overdose and die.
Oh.
Because their body won't be able to recognize the opiates as well. But yeah, so there's a higher chance of that anyway. But the doctor does mention that there are that side effects can range from mild to some nausea and stuff like that to psychological terror and
trauma
and heart problems and stuff like that.
Yeah,
or the doctor's so if he wakes up and he's tearing his skin off or whatever, we'll know kind of where he's at.
So at one point they have to shock him because he
goes into VFib, ventricular fibrillation.
And Kelly and Matt were in the room when that happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because Kelly. That's when we see Kelly's in the room and she's watching over him and everything. And Matt comes in. He's like, "Hey, maybe we should go."
Right. She just keeps refusing to leave. So it's just her and Gina at one point. They get him back, from his dying. And Kelly and Gina are together in the waiting room talking about why they like to take care of people, which was kind of interesting and insightful and didn't seem like very natural conversation.
No,
truly,
not at all.
But interesting insight into the characters, I guess.
Anytime Kelly turns nice, it doesn't seem natural,
right?
But Matt has a conversation with her before he leaves. He's like, "Hey, I want you to think about why you're here. Whether you're here as a friend or whether you're here as something else." Mm-hmm. And then he leaves because he's like, I'm leaving. I don't want to stick around here. And it's interesting because the only people that are there are his girlfriend, Gina, and Kelly.
Right.
So all the other friends presumably care about him, but they're not sticking around the hospital for days on end.
No, and why would you? He's not even conscious.
Exactly.
But, I mean, Gina is there because she wants to be there when he is conscious.
Right.
And when he does wake up, she goes in to see him, and Kelly's like, just give him my regards and leaves. Yeah,
why did you wait until he woke up and then we're just I think it was just a test. I don't know. She was like, okay, I can not go in, I guess. It's fine.
Well, I think maybe she did think about what Matt asked her to think about and decided she should go be a girlfriend to Matt instead of trying to steal Dylan, I guess.
But probably too little too late.
It seems that way. Because we see that Matt is on the phone with somebody else who apparently is in New York City.
It's so good to hear you and everything. Yeah, because this is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, what the fuck was this?
Talking to this woman on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe it's you," and it's like, "Oh, I love hearing your voice. I love you," or whatever. And then we transition to 1974 stock footage of New York City, World Trade Center, right? Center stage and everything. So we know it's New York City. And if we didn't realize that it was New York City, by the fucking Twin Towers right in front of our face, it says below New York City in big, bold letters. And then there's just a window. It's the cheapest set in the world. It's just it's like the Andy Griffith show with, Aunt Bee and her pies or whatever. It's just a fucking window. And she's on the phone. She's like, "I love you so much," or whatever. "I love you." And you hear on the other end, "I love you too." And that's actually the scene that ends the episode. So,
but Kelly shows up during this conversation.
Oh, yeah.
To tell him that she has decided that she was there just as a friend. Mm-hmm. And she's so excited and her eyes are all shiny. And he's like, "Okay, can we talk about this later?"
Right.
And she doesn't even realize that he's not happy to see her. He's distracted, whatever. And she's just like, "Okay, we'll talk later."
Well, that's what I said when she left, all happy and bouncing. I was like, does everyone on the show have autism? Can people not read each other's faces?
Right? Yeah, it was dumb.
Or whatever they call it, Asperger's or whatever, right? Yeah. It's one of those, right?
Yeah.
But they can't read facial expressions.
Well, I mean, autism and Asperger's is a form of autism, so...
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. You know more about it than I do.
Anyway, the other stupid storyline...
Oh, Steve and Janet.
Janet shows up at the newspaper with her dog.
That's a Doberman Pincer, right?
Sure, I have no idea.
I believe that's the breed of dog.
And a dude who has the same kind of dog.
Another Doberman Pincer.
And they're fawning over each other, flirting and stuff. And she's like, "We're going to breed," because her dog's in heat and he has a male of the same breed.
Yeah, and like, she's talking about how perfect he is for breeding and stuff like that. And everything. It sounds like fucking weird eugenic shit,
right?
That they're talking about, and which I know is what they do with dogs or whatever. And the guy's like, he gives the classic line of like, "Oh yeah, great hips, angular line. She's a fine bitch," and Steve's like, "Yeah, you can say that again."
And like, I was really confused by this because I thought him and Janet are a couple.
Yeah.
But apparently not, because she wants to date this guy. And
they've been fucking at least.
They have definitely been fucking. And she asks him to watch her dog while she goes off with this guy.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Because the dog's in heat, but they don't want them to have sex yet. Isn't that when they do?
I would think so.
Anytime she's in heat?
You would think. I don't get it.
Get your dogs a hotel room and go on a date or whatever, I guess.
She's like, we want to wait for the special night.
Yeah. He's like, so she can feel the earth move? It's really weird talking about dogs fucking.
Right?
We talk about dogs fucking more than I thought we ever would on 90210.
So Steve is babysitting this dog while his lover is on a date.
Yeah.
And the dog, he lets off the leash in a dog park so he can go flirt with this girl.
Yeah. Very attractive looking blonde woman.
Is she very attractive?
Yeah, I thought so, didn't you?
She's fine. I don't understand why he's so fucking stupid.
It's Steve. I mean, like, that should be his tagline in the show.
So the dog gets fucked in the dog park because she's in heat. And it's this little tiny ugly dog.
You asked if it was a Chihuahua. It's bigger than a Chihuahua. It might be a Chihuahua like pug mix or something like that. I think it's a mutt of some sort.
But it's a small mutt.
Yeah, it's not like it's like terrier size or whatever. Remember Benji?
Right.
Remember the dog?
I think it's smaller than that.
Dog Benji? Maybe a little smaller than Benji, but it didn't look like Benji. It was around that size, but it was like a mutt dog.
And Steve's looking at it like, could it even do that? Like, because it's so much smaller.
And he goes, Nippy's very resourceful.
Right.
Whatever the dog's name was, Nipsey or something like that.
Something.
It was Nipsey Russell.
So, yeah. So Steve gets a date, but he also theoretically gets Janet's dog pregnant.
Right.
He doesn't want to tell her. So then she takes the dog to go breed, and they don't do it.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what happened when you were watching my dog? Because, like...
Did you fuck my dog?
So he admits what happened, but then it turns out that she's not pregnant. So, like, what? Once she has sex, she doesn't have the urge to have sex anymore? I don't understand.
I don't think dogs work like that.
Yeah, I feel like she still would have wanted to have sex.
I don't think dogs do it for pleasure.
No, they don't.
I think dogs do it just out of pure instinct.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's some kind of refractory period.
Right.
And I don't, like, if
dogs are always hard, right? Don't they have a hard bone in their penis?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think human beings are one of the only mammals that don't actually have that. That the men actually need to be aroused to have sex.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
But so her dog doesn't, get pregnant, and it doesn't have sex with the other dog. Mm-hmm. And then she, at the end of the episode, comes to Steve, and what did she say to him?
So they're having these veiled conversations about themselves, I guess, or whatever.
I guess.
Through the dogs, the entire episode, because they can't just talk to each other. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But he's like, hey, because they go to the dog park, and she sees the dog that fucked her dog, and she's like, oh my God. He's got two asses or whatever, his face and his ass. And she's like all angry and stuff like that and everything. And he's like, he's got personality. And so like, when did looks become so important and everything? And so then at the end, at one point too, she has a Freudian slip where she says he's just the perfect, on paper, he's the perfect dog to breed with or whatever. And like she says the guy's name instead of the dog's name. And he's like, don't you mean the dog? And she's like, oh yeah, that's right. So in the end, she's like, yeah, I'm not going to breed with that guy in either sense. Because, I liked the other dog. He had personality or whatever. You were right. He was better.
Yeah. And she's like, she says...
And the American Kennel Club showed up and was like, that's not how pure breeding works.
No, but she says something like, he's a, cute dog like you or something like that. Like, compares him to a dog.
She's like, personality. She goes, personality matters more, especially in dogs. Like you.
Yeah. So, are they together now?
I don't know.
I'm so confused.
The show refuses to define their relationship.
I don't like it. And I don't like the way they're using him just for, like, comedy relief. Like, he's a decent actor. He's had some dramatic storylines. Yeah. Why are they doing this?
He's one of the better actors on the show. I'll say
exactly. That. So, all of a sudden, he's just, like, fluff all the time? Like, I don't get it.
Speaking of, there's one other storyline real quick.
Oh, what?
Speaking of bad comedy, Noah is, I don't know, auditioning a new act for the club. This chick that's supposed to be hot or whatever, I guess. And she's playing the Blockbuster Music Awards. And she needs an outfit. What I'm in is so dumb and I hate it and I'm going to fail or whatever. And he's like, hey, I know a designer. So Donna designs a dress for her, right? Mm-hmm. And we get Donna's terrible, terrible comedy.
Ugh.
She is decent in dramatic scenes. She's decent in, like, sort of neutral scenes, too. She's not the world's worst actor. But comedy?
She's terrible.
She cannot do comedy.
She overacts it all the time.
She thinks she's doing good comedy, but she's not. Where she's like, oh, I'm not that lucky. She hates my stuff. I'm not that lucky to, get this opportunity and stuff and everyone to, like, love my store or whatever. And she's like, I love your stuff. I want you to design my dress. And she's like, did she just? And she's like, she literally, like, puts up her finger like a eureka. Did she just? What did? That just happened. And it's like, that's basically what her comedy style is.
Yeah, it's awful.
Terrible.
And then the actress does some terrible shit to this dress that was actually pretty.
She's a musician.
Musician, whatever. And Noah is her date. She wants Noah to be her date to this event, which is weird.
I thought this was gonna, like, turn into something. Mm-hmm. I thought he was gonna fuck her, or she was gonna try to fuck him, or something. But it doesn't. She's like, well, Donna goes away to start doing the dress or whatever, and she's like, nah, I've got the dress. I just need a date. And she looks like she's actively coming when she's talking to him. But it nothing happens.
Yeah.
It just, he's only there so that Donna can be like, oh my God, the dress looks horrible. She added feathers to it. She did all this. She did that. It looks terrible. I'm going to be ruined or whatever. And she doesn't mention the designer. She doesn't mention Donna.
Which she's supposed to have done.
Right. And she's like, oh, thank God she didn't mention me. And then Noah's like, and by the way,
Donna Martin.
You want this dress, Donna Martin? And he gives the address and everything, which is fucking weird.
Yeah.
I've never seen a red carpet event where someone's given the address of the store. But Donna's like, oh my God, I'm fucking ruined.
And she's...
And then there's a news article about how this singer's, like, surely going to make the worst dressed list and everything.
Yeah, so she starts putting up, like, 50% off signs in her store. And then a bunch of teenagers show up, all excited to wear a dress this person wore.
Yeah, I'm looking for this dress, and all my friends are coming to get this dress. And we want she's like, didn't you read the article? Well, first of all, why is she trying to sabotage herself? She's like, didn't you read the article about the dress? And they're like, if it's in print, it's already passe. No one fucking cares. No one gives a shit about those articles.
Yeah.
And then, like, thousands of young girls stream into the store, and she's like, oh, 50% off sign? How about the garbage slap?
Yeah. It's so stupid. The whole thing's stupid. Everything was stupid except for the storyline with Dylan, which was just irritating.
Yeah.
Lots of fun, this show. Definitely watch it.
We have to be rapidly approaching the end of this.
I hope so.
Next season is season 10. Mm-hmm. They've been renewed for season 10. I've heard rumblings, I believe that will be their final season.
Thank God.
So we will catch up, actually, right prior to the premiere of season 10.
Awesome.
So we will actually be able to watch the last season in real time with you
Yay.
guys. Oh, but That is the episode for today, though, Carol.
It is. So you can write us at latefee1994 at AOL.com.
Mm-hmm.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefee.com.
Yep.
And share the tapes with your friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.